Okay, we're going to get started. So this morning I want to go over a couple things. First, we're not going to be talking about HTML, CSS. The Code Academy page always goes there. We're actually going to talk about two different things, Python, and I want to give you a little heads up about what's going to happen today in Ignition. So I'm going to start with that. Don't worry if you missed out on this. We'll recap it later again. Okay, so basically, as some of you already know, as informed by your evaluation group leaders, your advisors, today is the day where you get to present your idea about what you're going to do this summer in the Ignition session this afternoon. So basically what happens is you have to come up on stage and present your project for no more than 1 minute, okay? Each person in the group must talk, okay, for at least, I don't know, 1 second, whatever, okay? Some people are quite shy, they don't want to do this. But trust me, the more public speaking you do, the less scared you're doing it, okay? I was the picture perfect model of a wallflower when I was your age, okay? I hated to talk. Anytime I had to come on stage, I would be quaking in my pants, you know, very scared. So it's going to be different for you after you practice a bit more. Okay, so what I want you to do is think about what's the gist of your project? What's the idea that you're trying to sell? Not any technical aspects. I don't want to hear I'm going to implement it on Python and Google App Engine, or I'm going to do Ruby on Rails, or I'm going to use Node. None of that matters. What you're trying to do is sell your product, okay? Act like a marketer. Sell it to the rest of the people in your evaluation group. Sell it to the class, okay? Who is the audience for your idea, right? Who is going to take up that product, okay? So how does it work? Basically, you're going to create a single PDF page slide, okay? I'm sure you all have the capability to make PDF. I hope so. Okay, so you can do it in PowerPoint or something and then render it out as a PDF file. So you need to name it in the format of a number, 000.pdf, where 000 is the number that is for your team. I'll tell you about that later, okay? On the slide itself, you need to put your names, your team name if you have one, okay? It doesn't have to match what you submitted earlier in the registration form, but it's nice to know, okay? Your aim level of achievement, okay? Especially if you're thinking of doing Apollo 11, put on your slide you're looking for mentorship. That way, at least we know that that's a part of the video that we'll need to keep, okay? Now, very importantly, this information is not binding. Oops. Okay. Meaning that you can change it later. Okay. You can change your team name. You can change your achievement level. Even if you don't like your partner, you can get rid of them. Okay. And then you can replace it with someone else. Okay. So here's an example. All right. So myself and Wee-san, we are the gift givers. We're looking for Apollo 11 with mentorship. We're going to design the next gift giving app. So we're going to make it easier to do Mother's Day, Father's Day, you know, Christmas, and all these other times we're going to do gift presents. It's going to be like a gift registry, but it's going to have, you know, quite a lot of social connections. So we're going to jazz it up. We're going to put things where you can suggest from other people, you know, receive recommendations. And if we have a time, you know, we heard about the Droid tutorial yesterday, we're going to build an Android app for it, okay? Something like that. Of course, you can do a lot better, okay? I've seen people come up with really creative ideas. Sometimes they do a skit. Sometimes they just come up and, you know, mime, whatever you want, okay? That's fine, all right? Just come up on stage, have a good time. You know, there's not that many times you get to do improv on stage, okay? This is one of them, okay? So you have to find your team number. How do you do that? You go to Slack and you go to the Ignition team list in general. So I'm going to do that right now. Let's see, in general, okay. There are some files here. So actually the best thing to do is, yeah, look for the pinned items that you can see on the left, right-hand side. And there's an Ignition team list. You can download that file. Okay, if it works for you. It doesn't work in my browser, but whatever. When you download it down, okay, let's say I do it in Chrome, it'll work for me. Okay, then I'm going to get my team list down, and then you can browse through that and find out which team number you are. Okay. Oh, let's see whether we will do it. Oh, I need to sign in. I'm not going to do it right now. Okay, if you're already signed in to Slack, you can get it, but it'll look a little bit like this one. Okay. So just has basically a set of team numbers. It's a 3-digit number, so don't forget to pad it with zeros at the front, okay? Otherwise, when we sort it, when we try to create your files, we won't be able to get it right. Okay, a lot of you have funny team names, and the more creative you are, the better, okay? I put in really boring ones, like 164, just because I don't have a team name from you, okay? Somehow I lost the other half. Yeah, this isn't a very good, I'll have to redo this. It's supposed to be all on one side, okay? My bad. Okay, so I'll do that a bit later, but what you need to do is think about what you're going to put on your slide, make it fun, okay? And then when you're done with it, you can submit it, okay? Go to IVLE, our very favorite manager of modules, right? You need to search for the Orbital 2015 module. So I think you know how to do that, but in case you don't, if you go to IVLE, especially if you have not used the search function in new IVLE, I was puzzled, where was it? Okay, so I will show you where it is. Okay, in the old IVLE, you know where it is because there's a thing called search right there. Okay, right up here, search. Ah, okay, but in the new IVLE, it's hidden. So you have to find it. It's over in this 9-box grid, right? Oh, there it is, search modules, okay? So you can search modules for it, find it, and you need to bookmark it. If you bookmark it, you have certain permissions. If you don't bookmark it, you won't be able to do certain things as far as we understand. And then what you'll need to do is go to the work bin. It'll look like this, okay? Take your presentation, your 1-slide PDF. Again, only PDF, not PPT, not any other document format. Put it in landscape because the projector here is landscape. You make a portrait slide, you only get part of the slide. Okay, name it in this format that I told you already. Put the information I told you already and upload it. Okay, so make sure when you upload it, you get the final version. So don't change it a lot. Okay, the most important part of this is not the slide. It's you being on stage. The attention should be on you. Whether you like it or not, that's a good thing. Okay, you must participate in Ignition. Okay, so if you don't participate in Ignition, you are missing the mandatory requirement. Okay, so if you're scared, you don't want to be on stage, I understand that, but especially it's only 1 minute, 30 seconds between you and your partner. It's not a lot of time. Okay, so please do that. And in the rare case, we had some people who had to leave for other reasons, for moving house, etc. Then you have to give a video presentation. So you can record the same thing, but just record a screencast of yourself narrating your slide for, again, maximum 1 minute. Send it to the same place as before. Okay, it's due by 2 o'clock this afternoon. Okay, must have it in by then because it takes time for us to assemble this PDF file. You know, so we're going to have to deal with that and put it all together. Okay, so don't worry if you just came in, you missed all of that. I will tell you again later. So we're going to go over a very, very crashy course in Python. Okay, so first of all, what is Python? Well, it's a really popular language, and it's very well paid for. Of course, if you look at surveys of employment, okay, the #1 language that people are looking for out there is what? Can anyone tell me? What's the #1 programming language which employers are looking for as their job skill? Is it Python? No. Good try though. It should be Python, but it's not. Sorry? JavaScript. It's a prefix of JavaScript. Who can tell me the language? Java. Okay, Java is the most important language right now, and it will be for quite a while because a lot of applications are written in Java. Okay, especially enterprise applications. But if you're looking to be agile, to build things fast, Java is usually not the right language for you. This is why when you look at advertisements for startups and other things, they don't use Java very much. They use Ruby, they use Python. Why should you learn Python? Okay, aside from this course and maybe learning Google App Engine, Python is a great language for computer science. Why? Because it deals, pushes away a lot of syntactic information that we don't need to worry about. Okay, and for SOC students and students in computing in general, wherever you go, when you go overseas or even if you stay here, Python is a language that we use in other courses. Okay, so for example, I teach how to make Google. I'm the lecturer for information retrieval. Okay, all of our assignments happen to be in Python. Okay, so you'll find quite a lot of APIs out there that are also Python based, which is a good reason why you should learn it. Okay, so hopefully you've already done the installation. Okay, I'm not going to go over this, but basically you need to download a Python 2.7, 2.7 whatever. Okay, 2.7 something for Windows, Mac, or Ubuntu. You just have to be careful. In some cases, if you bought a Mac within the last 2 years or so, it may come with a different version of Python. And so you need to double check that Python is the right version. If not, you probably want to install the older version. Okay, Python 2.7 came around many years ago, but quite a lot of software is based on Python 2, not Python 3. So you'll need to install that if you want to participate in Google App Engine later. Okay, so we're going to go through Python. So all of you here have had some programming experience. This is going to, I think, be a piece of cake for all of you. Basically, what happens is once you install Python, you can play with it in an interactive interface by doing the following commands. On Windows, you can press this, Linux like this, and etc. You'll have a Python prompt. So I'll show you what that looks like, just that you're familiar with it. It may look a little scary to you because you have to use the command line, but no, it'll look something like that. All right, ta-da! So I can do things like 1 + 1, okay, 2, and then finish. Okay, oops. Okay. But we're not going to deal with the command line. The command line is boring. It's not something that you want to know about now. It's a bit too much detail. So we're going to go to our tried and true source on the web called. No, it's not Stack Overflow. Nice try. Okay, we're going to go to Code Academy. Okay, so you scroll down in Code Academy, you're going to see the Python course. Okay, so I took this, well, only 1/4 of it, well, 31% a while back. And it takes 13 hours to learn. We're going to do it in an hour. Congratulations. Yay. Okay. So actually, we're not going to go through the tutorial here. I definitely think for those of you who have a hard time grasping what we're going to go through accelerated in 1 hour, do the Python tutorial here. It's very, very gentle, very, very slow. That's a good thing because you'll make sure you hit all the right marks in understanding. What I want to do in the next hour or so is just present enough Python so you can read it when Lisan goes over Google App Engine with you. Okay? So a lot of the things that we're introducing today and yesterday, they're not going to immediately connect for you. They're going to have to take a while for you to gel and sit them up together, and then you're going to put it together. Okay? Oh, that's not good. Huh? Let's try that again. Okay, well, anyways, we don't need to use Code Academy right this minute, but definitely you will need to use Code Academy in a while. So try your connection to Code Academy. Maybe you'll get more lucky than I am. Okay. Okay. So again, what we are going to use is Code Academy. So you'll need to sign in, pick the Python code course, and jump to an appropriate exercise sequence when we can. Okay, so we're going to tell you about the language. So First of all, strings, okay, and numbers, very simple, right? Numbers are just numbers. They have different types: integers, long integers, floating point, complex numbers. And there are strings. Strings are of this sort that you usually see in Java and C. Okay, you have single quote strings, double quote strings. Okay, double quote strings you can see here. They allow you to nest inside another quote. Okay, and you can do triple quotes for multi-line strings. These are all single quotes, by the way. 1, 2, 3, single. The double quotes is, of course, the double quotation mark. Okay, a very important point is once a string is created, it's immutable, meaning it cannot be changed. You want to change a string, you have to make a new string from the old string. Okay, and you can concatenate them, so you can put two strings next to each other, and it will produce the same thing as if you added them together. So the addition operation just means join two strings together. So I'm going to pull up a chair. I'm going to get very tired of staring at the monitor like that. Okay, so variables are the same as what you probably already know. Okay, you can do multiple assignment, meaning that you can take a variable and assign it a value, then put a comma, and then put another variable, assign it something else. So this y is being assigned to a string. Okay, you can do multiple assignments. So x and y and z all are the string SOC. Okay, the naming convention that they have for variables is pretty simple. Okay, first character has to be a letter of the alphabet or an underscore. The rest have to be upper or lowercase, underscores or digits. Okay, and Python is case sensitive like a lot of other things. So if you have my name and my name, where name is caps in the second one, it's not the same. Okay, so there are two different variables. There are lots of reserved words in Python, so try not to make variables follow these names, because then you'll be very confused for a while. Why is my program not working? Okay, I think you all know that in Slack I uploaded these slides this morning, so you should have a copy of it. Okay, just in case you weren't sure about that. Let me just double check that we are recording. Yeah, we are. Okay, let's try this again. Please work. No, it doesn't want to work. See, if we go back up, we'll be luckier. Okay, give me 1 second. Oh no. Okay, we'll just have to try our best. Okay, so it's a strongly object-oriented language. So those of you who know Java, it's an object-oriented language. That means every variable, every object is everything that you have is also an object. That means there are certain methods that you can invoke on every thing that's in your program. Okay, that includes function calls, for example. There are also objects, you can manipulate them. Okay, statements. The one thing about Python and a lot of modern languages is that we care about indentation. Okay, so some of you asked about indentation in HTML yesterday and CSS. They don't care about indentation. Okay, but we already know that we'd like to indent our code to make it readable. Okay, Python makes use of that quite a lot. So you're going to see this throughout this. Okay, so in fact, because we use indentation, we don't need other pieces of information to tell us when a statement ends and when it starts. Okay, so for example, we won't need a semicolon to separate one statement for another, because a new line with the proper indentation already tells us it's a new statement. Okay, you can choose still to use statements on one line. For example, here you can see I've put two things together on one line, but this is generally not recommended. Okay. Oops. Okay, so as I said, indentation is really important. We actually don't use braces very much in Python. We use indentation. Okay, so leading white space, spaces and tabs are really, really important. Basically, that statements in the same block, okay, have the same indentation. Okay, so this is a wrong syntax here. Okay, because I've indented the second statement, print I. It doesn't line up underneath, right? It's not here. Okay, so if I pull this over, then it would be clear that these two statements are at the same level of execution. They're at the same block. Okay, so they should be executed one over the other. Okay, we only indent things when there's a logical separation between what came before and what comes after. Okay, and the recommendation is, like Java, like other programming language, use a single tab, okay, or use 2 to 4 spaces to do that. Okay, so comments, you can use them. They follow a syntax that you see in other languages as well, not Java. But single line comments use a # at the beginning. Okay, and multiple lines use something like this. Okay, so I can show you some of this. So if you have Python installed, you can invoke idle. Okay, idle is basically an IDE, a very minimal IDE for Python. So let's see whether it's going to come up. Okay, and then you should be able to type comments, right, and strings, right, and assign things to strings. Okay, so in idle, you'll get the benefit of having color highlighting. So that's the only reason why I'm using it here. You can again use Code Academy. It has all of these nice features built in. I'm going to check on Code Academy again and see whether it is working. Where is it? Running for us today. Okay. Okay. So there's also operators and expressions, the same sort that you've seen in other places. So if we read through this code, this should be pretty easy, hopefully, to follow. We have a variable that's getting a integer value, length equals 5, same with breadth, multiplying these two integers together and assigning it to another variable, right? And I'm going to do a print statement. The print statement is pretty simple. It doesn't have parentheses, okay? In Python 2, it doesn't have parentheses. So you have a string here, a comma, and then another variable. The variable knows how to print itself, okay? It has something like a toString method attached to it, and then it'll print itself. You can also do another compound statement. So here after the comma, I have an expression, right? The expression is calculated before being returned to the print statement for printing. Okay, like other languages, assignment uses the equal sign, comparison uses 2 equal signs, etc. Okay, now is the first place where we come to the notion of a block. Okay, so when you have control statements, you know, for statements, else statements, while loops, for loops, there's always the notion of something that needs to be embedded in something else, right? Because, for example, when you have an if statement, you have a logical test, right? And then after that, you're supposed to do something if it's satisfied, or perhaps not do something if it's not satisfied, and then continue on from there. So logically, if you think about it, all of these control statements are taking blocks of code as arguments. You can think of it like that, okay? And there's some other thing on top, some type of expression telling you whether you should go to one block or another block and how many times. Okay, so each of these blocks is going to be given in a indented syntax, right? So you can read this. Hopefully, it's very transparent to you. If not, yell out on Stack Orbital Flow. Okay, so in Stack here we have this one here. Okay, so you can just put it whatever you want there, telling me to slow down, or you're not sure about something, just put it in there. Okay, then I'll be happy to go over it. Okay, so we're going to follow this program, right? So I'm going to set a number equal to 23. So this is a variable, right? I'm going to ask the user to give me an integer. So here's a prompt, string, raw input, right? I'm going to change that raw input into an integer, because otherwise when I get input from a person, it could be in anything. It could be a string. Okay, I'm going to change it into an integer. I'm going to save that variable as the word guess. Okay, and I'm going to do an if, else if, and if statement. Okay, so it's a nested thing. It looks a little bit like a Java switch. Okay, a little bit. Okay, because basically what I have is a condition for the if statement. Okay, right there. right? So I'm going to check whether guess equals a number. If it does, that's great. I can print something, okay? And then I can give another if statement, but it's attached to this current if statement, okay? So that's why it's nested, okay? It's just that you don't have to nest them. You have this else if operator here that allows you to do both simultaneously, okay? So then you can say else if the guess is too low, then you say no, it's a little bit higher than that, and else otherwise, okay? So there are a couple things I want you to note about this, okay? Let me get the mouse because it's a lot easier to draw with the mouse. Okay, the first is, okay, that you can see that all of these blocks are indented. Okay, even the comments are indented. Okay, that is telling Python, and you should tell anyone who can read Python that that is the block that applies to the upper level statement that it was indented from, right? So what it means is that, for example, this block here, right, it is corresponding to this if statement, okay? The second thing is whenever you have a block, all right, you're going to see something else at this beginning of the other line, okay? That's this. It's a colon, okay? A colon in Python tells the interpreter, okay, the program that's running the program that you wrote, okay, that what comes after the colon is going to be a block. Okay, so you're going to see this syntax repeated over and over again. It's very, very clean, makes a lot of logical sense. Okay, so while statements also look like that, you know, so I can do the same thing. I can say, while some variable is true, okay, colon, right, that means I'm going to have a block. This block is indented. As soon as I outdent it, okay, oh, my block is finished. Okay? And then I have an else statement here. So after everything is done from the while loop, syntax may not make a lot of sense yet, okay? Then I can have it do some final things, okay? Okay. Why would an else, a while loop have an else statement? It's a little bit like Java exceptions, okay? You want to clean up something after you finish doing a function body. That's what an else statement in the while loop is for. Okay, so never mind that part. What we want to do is concentrate on what's going on so we can understand what this statement is saying. So it says, while this variable is true, I'm going to run the code inside of here. I'm going to, you know, guess an integer and do the same program that I saw before. Okay, so that's going to happen continuously in the loop, right, until running becomes false. So I have an infinite loop here. The only way I can break out is if guess is the same as the number, right? If the person guessed 23, then I'm going to say running is assigned the value false. Then when I go through this loop again, I'll fall out and I'll come to the else statements. Okay? Everyone happy with that? Pretty easy to digest so far, I hope. Okay, for statements are also in Python. They look a little different, and it'll take a little bit of time for you to get used to the proper syntax in Python. Python uses things called ranges, okay, that allow you to iterate through a set of values, okay? So in Python, it's not typical for you to use an instance variable like I equals 0 and then I++, etc. Okay? You use ranges to do that, okay? So you're going to hear this again and again when you learn more Python, that perhaps your code is not Pythonic, meaning it's not coded in the convention or the stylistic manner that's typical of Python. Okay? So a for statement looks like this. Okay? You can do something like this for I in the range of 1 to 5. So range returns a set, okay, a list of values. They're going to be assigned one at a time for I because you asked for I to be assigned a value. Okay, then you can print I. When this is finished, then you have an else statement. Just like before, I told you, okay, there is a colon at each time we need to indent, right? Because this is a code block. You're going to see it again and again. I said that so many times already, okay? So what range is going to generate for you, this is a function call, okay? It's going to generate a list, okay? Just like a linked list, whatever, a list of values, an array of values, if you will, okay? We're going to see this syntax again later on. A list uses square bracket separated with a comma, okay? So you can play around with this. There are lots of different ways that you can play around with range. So I can say a starting value, an ending value, okay? The ending value, you have noted that, for example, I stop at 4. I don't actually go to 5, okay? This is just to keep it that way, all right? And you can give an optional step function, okay? How much increment it does. So if you think about C, you think about Python, a lot of times we have these for loops. The range is giving you pretty much the same abilities there, okay, to iterate through a number of values at a certain step. Okay, we have a break statement, continue statement, etc., to keep with the same flow that you would see in Java as well as in C. Okay, everyone happy so far? Okay. All right. So we're going to do Code Academy time. Let's see whether we can get this. Let's see whether it's going to work for us. If it doesn't work, well, then we're going to have to try to do it some other way. Are any of you connected to Code Academy? Are you able to get the exercise working? It doesn't load. Okay. So we're going to have to try to do it another way. And so I guess Amazon Cloud is not working, and that's why Code Academy is down. Okay. So let's see. I'm really sorry about that. Let's see whether I can find an alternative for you. Maybe somewhere else on the web we can get exercises that are interactive that we can do. Okay, my connection is not working very well here. Hopefully yours is working better. Okay, so I apologize. We're not able to get interactive exercises. I want to do this with you, but maybe I'm not so lucky. Let me see whether I can get it working on this side. It doesn't work here either, so it's definitely their problem on their side. Okay. The internet is not working today. All right, so we're going to learn Python without the interactive exercises, but I'll be happy to go over with you later on if you'd like to do the interactive exercises. So functions are defined the same way, okay? Functions, if you think about it, they're also blocks, right? They're the same thing as a for loop or while loop. It's just that we're giving a name to that code. Okay, we're going to give it a name and optionally give it some arguments. That's all function is, right? So the same way is we're going to do is we're going to indent a function, right? So is the function. Okay, I don't have to put curly braces. I don't have to end it with another line, etc. We can if we want. All right, but everything that's indented until we outdent again is the definition of a function. Isn't that nice? Very clean. So the only thing that you need to know about function is that there's an extra line at the top, right? That extra line tells us the name of the function and what it might take as input. Okay? So here we go. You define a function with the function def. Okay? And then you can give it a name and arguments. Okay, so I'm going to type this in. since we don't have interactivity, I'm going to do it in idle. Okay, define print max. Okay. Okay, I'm going to put parentheses A, comma B. Okay, after that, I need a colon, right? Why? Because I'm going to make a code block. All right. So in idle, it knows that I'm making a block because I put a colon. So the cursor comes here instead of all the way back here, right? I'm going to do this if A is greater than B. I need another code block. Logically, it's another statement, right? Print. Where's my thing? Okay. A is maximum. Okay. Okay. Then I just use the backspace to get back to the outer indentation. Then I'm going to write else. Can you see this? Is it visible to you? Is it too small? Could it be bigger? Let's see whether I can make it bigger. Okay, and then I'm done with my thing, right? I now have a function, right? I can use that function, print max 3, 4. Okay, 4 is maximum. Okay, you can follow along if you have your Python interpreter. You can run it yourself, right? This is the idle interpreter that comes installed when you install it on Windows, Mac, or Linux. Okay. Okay, local variables are declared inside of a function, right? So, for example, if I have a function x, and I add another x equals 2 inside, this x equals 2 is going to refer to this local version, not the global one that was passed inside, right? So this function, x is going to be whatever was called outside. Okay, so here's an example when we call it. I set x equals to 50. I call the function. X is 50. I change it to 2. Change local x to 2. Okay, and that's fine. Okay, you note that things get passed into a function, they don't get changed. So when I ask to print x on the outside after I invoke the function, that call to change x equals 2 in the function body only change the local copy inside of that function call. Okay, it doesn't change anything outside. Okay. If you want to explicitly do something with the global variable, that's fine. Then you can do that. But you have to tell Python that you want the global copy, not the local copy. Okay, by default, it's going to create a local copy. Okay, so you do that using the global word marker here. So I'm basically saying there's a function. It doesn't take any arguments, but it's going to take data from the outside. Okay, I'm going to reference things globally. This is usually not a good idea. You've heard in many of your programming classes that doing global things is not good because you have a lot of side effects. Okay, so we only do this when absolutely necessary. Okay, a nice thing about Python is it allows you to do default arguments. Okay, and a default argument doesn't mean you're arguing with someone. Oh, so you're so petty, whatever, and you always say the same argument over and over again. Okay, it just means that when I pass in a parameter, it already has a default value. Okay, so this is a nice way of having defaults, right? Because I can say, if I want you to say a message, by default, I'm only going to say it one time. Okay, but if, let's say, I'm talking to my son and I have to tell him over and over again to keep his hands clean, then I might, say it 50 times. Okay, so here again, you can see hello, only one argument. Then Python knows, oh, I'm still referring to this function because times wasn't given to me, but I know what it should be. Okay, so this is equivalent to say hello, comma 1. Okay, then I can explicitly give it a value. Say world 5. Okay, So if you know about operator overloading or things of that sort in Java, this is a nice way to get around it because you already have all of this built in to a single function call. Okay, all of it is on one line. Okay, so only those at the end of the parameter list can be given default values. So for example, down here, you can do something like this, but it won't make sense to do something like that. Okay, that's just the Python syntax. So whenever you have something optional, leave it at the end of your function definitions. Okay? All good? Okay. Keyword arguments. Use names instead of positions to specify arguments to the function. So for example, I have a function here. This function takes a parameter A, mandatory, B, an optional parameter with default value of 5, C, an optional value of default value of 10. Okay, I can call something like this. Okay, function 25, comma, C equals 24. Okay, meaning I want to set C, not B, to 24. Okay, I'm going to leave B to be its default value. Okay, I can even order them any way I want. Okay, so when I call a function, if I know what parameters it takes, I can tell it, oh, I know that you expect a value called C. I'm going to provide it to you first. Okay, and I'm going to provide A to you second. Okay, and just like the other statements that you saw for and while, you have a control statement that takes you out of a function that's called return. Okay, and it's very simple to understand, right? So if I finish and I know X is greater than Y, then maybe I'm just going to return that value and not execute the rest of the function. Okay, now when you go to actually use Python in practice, you're going to use a lot of library functions. You're going to see this in your Google App Engine coding. Okay, so a module basically is like a library. Okay, it's basically a file containing a lot of other variables or functions that you want used in your system. Okay, we use import to say this. Okay, it's just like include in C, import in Java. Okay, so there's 3 formats for it, but you don't have to worry about it. The first one is the most obvious one that people use. Okay, just take the file contents from somewhere else and import it into my program for use. Okay. So you can make your own module. That just means making a file. So for example, I have a file called mymodule.py. Okay, I'm gonna create a function, say define a function called say hi. Okay, outdented. So this is the end of the function as we saw earlier, right? Here's my function body. Okay, then I'm going to define a variable version. It's going to give a string, and this is going to be saved in a file. Okay, when I write my other code, okay, I can say import module, module say hi, and all of this. Then I'll get that following output. Okay, so I'm going to do that for you right now. Okay, let's see whether I can get this working. Okay. All right, so I'm going to open a new file. Okay, I'm going to write this statement here. Okay. Okay, on the outdent, I don't have to put a character return, but I can. I'm going to give a version number here. Okay, I'm going to save that. Okay, I'm going to put it in my directory, my module.py. Okay, and then I'm going to try to use it out here. So import my module. Okay, so I have imported now. Okay, so it went to the file and imported, and then I'm going to say hi. Okay, and that should have worked. I think maybe it didn't find the module. Okay. So we're going to go on from there. Oh, I have to prefix it. my module, say hi. Okay, there we go. Okay, print my module version. Okay, plus maybe version of my module. Okay. So then you see how it works, right? Everyone following that? So that's pretty simple, right? We put in another file. It just has some functions and some variables. And then I imported it and I used it, okay? So obviously, when you write your files, a lot of times when you want to import something, you want to use it afterwards. So you put your import statements at the top, just like in Java and in C++, we put our include and import statements at the top. So all of the variables will be ready for us to use later on. Okay, now a big topic is lists. Okay, so lists look like this. Oh, looks like Code Academy is back. Great. So we'll use it in a little while. We have built-in data structures, lists, tuples, and dictionaries. They're all different types of sets. Okay, a list is specified, as I showed you earlier, a square bracket followed by a comma, followed by an n square bracket. And it basically stores a sequence, all right? And the list is something that's mutable. So unlike a string, you can add and remove things, okay? List can store any type of thing that you want. It's just basically a sequence of objects, okay? It can include other lists, for example, okay? So here's a list with 5 items, the third item being another list of 2 items, right? Okay, so for example, let's walk through this. This is my shopping list. I have a shopping list here, apple, mango, carrot, banana. Okay, I have how many things in my shopping list? So this is a function call to a default Python method. It takes in as a argument an object that has a length, okay? And then I can go through all of the items in my shopping list by doing like this, okay? For item in shop list, colon, print item, okay? Why does this work? This looks like a little bit strange, right? Okay, why is it? Because the shop list is creating the same thing as a range, okay? A range, again, returns a sequence, right? Something in square brackets, right? So I can show you that again. Okay, so I'm going to do range, for example, 1 to 10, okay? So you can see I'm getting a square bracket list out, okay? It's basically a sequence of items, okay? I can also define a list, right? I can do it manually. I can say 1, 2, 3, whatever, okay? That would give me something similar, right? Okay, I could use a range to create a list. Okay, then you can see all the things that I get out. Basically, I'm getting a sequence that's in square brackets. Okay, so all of those are you can iterate over them, right? For some variable in B, right? Print I, okay, finish. Okay, so you can see how it's working, right? So I'm just giving a loop. I say I'm going to pass in a variable. This variable is a list. Gives me a sequence of items. I'm just going to traverse them one at a time, okay? And I'm going to print them out. If you don't want them all on a different line, you can do it a little bit easier, like this. For I in print B, print I, comma, okay? Then you'll get them all in a single line, all right, with a space intervening. Okay? Are you guys all following that? It's all right so far? So what I want to tell you again is a lot of these iterators where you have a loop or something, all right? It expects some type of sequence, okay? The sequence you can get by creating a list, okay? So the same thing is what's happening here, right? For item in shop list is a list too. It's giving you back a sequence. The sequence just happens to be string items rather than integers, right? Then I can print those items and then do other things with them. So when I have a list, I can append things to it. I can append another string. I could append an integer or whatever. So even here, okay, I have a list B, right? If you remember, I can do B append, and I can create put any object that I want. Okay, I can append a string. Okay, or I could append another number. Okay, and then you can see what happens on the other side. Okay, everyone clear about that? Okay, once I have a list, I have a way of selecting things on that list. Okay, so I can give it an index value, all right, in square bracket notation, and it'll tell me what item I'm referring to. So shop list 0 refers to the first item on the shopping list, right? Apple. Okay, I can do it over here too, right? I can say B0, right? Saying I'm gonna take that list, I'm gonna cut the element of that list and show it to me. Okay, it happens to be 1, right? And all's good there. Okay, B equals 1, B equals, I don't know, 20, 10. Okay, I get 41, right? The 10th element here. 11th element, my pardon. Okay, I can do other things. I can assign them to other variables. I can delete them. Okay, and all of that should make sense to you. Okay, now that's not the only thing that's a sequence. We also have immutable sequences. They're called tuples. You're going to see these in Python Google App Engine later. Okay, a tuple is specified by using parentheses, right, rather than square brackets. Okay, that's how Python is telling you that it's not to be changed. Okay, so tuples can store different items as well. They can store lists. They can store other tuples. And there's an empty tuple, of course, as well as an empty list. So double parentheses and double square brackets. The only thing that's tricky about tuples is if you have a tuple of one item, you need to have it look like that. Okay, so you don't have to worry about these exceptions. They're not very important. Okay, so here's another one with tuples. I have a tuple of 3 things: wolf, elephant, and penguin. And I can give the length of that. Okay, then I have a new zoo that I'm creating. It's also a tuple, and it's going to get inside of it the zoo. Okay, another variable zoo. So how many items do I have in my new zoo? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that right? What do you think? That's what's going to happen? Let's give it a shot, right? Okay, it didn't paste very well, so let me try it again. Zoo. Okay, print length zoo. Okay, then we'll create a new zoo. A, B, zoo. Okay, I'm gonna print the length for the new zoo, right? I want you all to think in your head, what is the right number? What should this result in? Okay. All right, so you know why, right? It's because the third element is a tuple. Okay, so tuple is just one item. Okay, so that's why it's nested inside. We only added one other item. So actually, you can see here the length of this new zoo is just 3 long. Okay, so actually it's already shown to you on the slide. Okay, so tuples and the print statement are one of the most common usage of tuple. You're going to see this again later on in Google App Engine. Okay, so when you print a string, okay, you can use this formatting method. Okay, so you have a string here, okay, and you provide some escapes. some placeholders where you want to put other things. Okay, if you are coming from C, you will know this syntax. Okay, the %s just means I'm going to put in some string there. %d just means I'm expecting to put an integer. Okay, and so what happens after that is in the print statement you need to put a %sign. Okay, and then add in a tuple that describes the things that you want to put in. So I'm going to put name here, okay, and I'm going to put age in here. Okay, so I'm going to get the output just like that. All right. So this is really useful because why is that? It's a little bit like CSS and HTML before. We said that you can use HTML to give you the structure. CSS gives you the style. Okay. So what we're doing here in the first half of the statement, okay, on this side, okay, is give you the structure. Okay, I'm going to say what it's supposed to look like, but I'm going to give you the arguments, okay, like the function call of what things it's going to take on the other side. That means you can reuse the string a lot just by specifying what inputs it takes. Okay. Okay, dictionaries, right? You all learn hash tables. I heard Aaron gave an exam without a hash table question. Right? It's on Facebook. All you guys were expecting it. Yeah, it wasn't there. Surprise. Okay, so in Python we also have hash tables. They also look pretty easy. They just use different types of brackets. Okay, so the brackets they use are the curly brackets. Okay, so now you have used in Python for every type of bracket: square bracket, curly bracket, parentheses, angle brackets we already used for greater than and less than, right? So this is a little harder to parse, but we're going to go through it anyways, all right? At the top, we have an address book variable. You can see as soon as you enter it, this is a hash table because we have curly braces, okay? Those of you coming from other languages, you say, oh, that's a code block. No, it's a hash table, okay? So a hash table, as I already told you, takes a key, okay, and a value. Okay, here it's a key that's a string, a value that's a string, and all of the keys have to be unique. So I have Alex's email, Bob's email, etc. Okay, I can print just like you saw before, something like this, right? I have a format string, Alex's email equals some placeholder string. I give the actual thing that I want to print out over on the other side. Okay, so when I reference an item in a hash, I use the square brackets. Okay, confusing, right? Okay, anyways, you use the square brackets, not the curly brackets, to look into a hash. Okay, so I use the square brackets. I give the key that I'm trying to find. Okay, in this case, because the keys are strings, I have to give it a string. Okay, and then I can print it out. Okay, so when I run this code here, I'll get something like that. Okay, you can also add new keys by just defining them in. So I didn't have an entry for Cindy. If it did, it would have been overwritten. Okay, I can delete a key value. Okay, and I can iterate through a hash table. So this is interesting. This is a bit fun because what I'm saying here is I'm going to specify two things at once to be assigned in a loop. Okay. So that's a bit strange, right? Usually when you iterate, you only get one thing back, right? An I or a J or a K, right? Here I am saying I can set two variables at once on iterating, okay? So this particular thing here, AB items, okay, this is a function, a method call on hashes. So AB is a hash, right? It has certain methods that are defined. AB items will return at each call, okay, a list that has things inside of it. So let's take a look at how that works. All right, so we're gonna build a address list. Okay, so I'm gonna give myself. Okay, oops, I'm using the wrong syntax. Again. Okay. Okay, and I'm going to give somebody else's email. Okay, and now I can do items on this and try to print it. Okay, I'm going to show you this later. Sorry, it doesn't work the way I expected it to. Okay, so in any case, we can go through the list of items, and basically what you're seeing here is that I'm getting a tuple that's being set to two things. I'm getting the name in one place, I'm getting the address in one place, and then I can iterate through those, right? So I can do that here for name and address in AB items, okay? Then print the name plus address, okay? I'm being dumb. Okay, I needed to give the parentheses. Okay, so you can see what's happening when I do this method call, right? I'm basically getting a list. Each time I'm getting one tuple back, right? That's why this tuple, the items on the tuple are being assigned to the variables on the outside. Okay, so if I do that, okay, you can see what's coming out on the other side. Okay. So the nice thing about lists and tuples, they're all examples, and strings too, really nice actually. Strings are really interesting, that they're all sequences, okay? So if you think about a string, it's just a sequence of letters, right? It's like a list actually, if you think about it. It's just a list of letters, okay? So we're gonna treat them the same way as a list does, okay? Except you know strings are immutable, they can't be changed, right? Tuples are immutable, but lists can be changed, okay? So there's some really nice thing called slicing that you can do, and indexing that you can do with any type of sequence. That means a list, a tuple, or a string, okay? So I can fetch a particular item. So for example, I have a list here, 1 comma, the string A, right? So when I say I want square bracket 1, what is that saying? It means I want the second item off of this list, right? So you can try it. Go ahead and do that. You know, I have 1 here, A, and I'm going to square bracket A, right? I'm going to get the second item off of that list, right? Because the first item was a list, and then I get the square brackets to say which piece of the list do I want, okay? These are all going to work the same way. So what do you think this is going to work out as? Okay, I have a string here. I said I can apply the same thing to a string. What's the second element of the string? The letter E, right? Great. So I can do that with strings too. Okay? And I can slice. This is really powerful. Okay, it means get a subsequence of a list. Okay? Remember this long list before? I can get an arbitrary sequence of items off of it. So I could say B, I want starting from 2 and go to 5, all of the elements there. Okay? And I would get that something like that. I can do the same thing with hello, right? I can say I want 2 through 5 here. Okay? And I'll get back a subsequence. Okay? This is called a slice because basically you're taking the data structure, you're cutting off some part in the front, you're cutting off some part in the back, you return it to the customer, okay? So it's a lot of fun because you can do quite a lot of interesting things with it. So you can do slice the whole thing, return the whole thing back by giving no arguments to a slice. And you can also do things backwards, okay? Let me see whether I covered that. Yeah, I didn't, so I'm gonna show you how it works, okay? So you may not be used to this syntax in other languages, so you can iterate from the back. List 2 minus 2 gives you from the back of the array the second item. Okay, so you can try that. Okay, hello minus 2, right? So that's an L. Hello minus 1. You should be able to figure out which one that is. right? That's going to give you the O, right? You can slice backwards too, okay? You can try to do that. See whether you can get something out from there. Okay. Oh, oops. Okay. So you can do all of these different types of operators. The third operator after the colon is the step. So you can say whether you want to step forward by giving a positive argument or step backwards by giving a negative argument. Okay. With any sequence, you can do certain types of operators, right? So you can do a Boolean test for whether an element exists in a string, right? So you can say, for example, here, in the string A, B, C, D, is there an A? Okay, true. You can add two sequences together, okay, that produces a new sequence. So when I add a string to another string, I get a new string, okay? I can multiply two strings together. That tells me how many times I'm going to create a new sequence as a result of repeating the old sequence. Okay, there are some sequence methods that you've already seen. So for example, length, minimum and max, and list all do things that are built in with any sequence. So they work for strings, they work for lists, and they work for tuples. Okay, we're not going to go over these. Okay, we're going to go to Code Academy. Let's see whether it's going to work. This one came up when I didn't need it. Okay. Please work. Okay, we're going to do the Pig Latin set of exercises by starting with part 1. Okay, so you go to Code Academy. Okay, what we're going to do is going to follow the Pig Latin exercises, and by the time you get to the end of this exercise, I think we're going to have to stop. So I'm going to ask you to do Pig Latin part 1 and 2 on your own now, okay? And when you're done with, I think, 10, okay, you can take a screenshot of your code, okay? And then upload it to Slack on this channel, okay? So you can put it here. So Ben has been answering questions. Thanks, Ben. Oops, I don't want to create a post. I want to submit a file, right? So if you've taken a screenshot, for example, you can put it up here. Oops, that's not the right one. Okay, and then I can upload that. Okay, just try your best, okay? So I'm going to step through it with you in the time that we have remaining to do the Pig Latin exercise, then we're going to stop there. Okay, there's more in the tutorial. Those are meant for reference slides, okay? Actually, already you have enough to understand the basics of Python, okay? And the more Python you write, the better, okay? So we're going to do the exercise, and then I'm going to offer some closing thoughts for you before we break and let Wee-san go over App Engine. So we're going to take what we learned so far about Python and write a Pig Latin translator. Pig Latin is a language game where you move the first letter of the word to the end and add I. So Python becomes, I don't know how to pronounce that, sorry, iPhone A, okay? So to write in Pig Latin translator, you need to do the following things. You need to ask the user for an input word in English. Make sure the user entered a valid word, and then convert the word from English to Pig Latin and display the translation result, okay? So you're going to do all of this in 11 steps, so don't worry. We're going to do it together. Okay? So we're going to warm up by printing a welcome message for our translation user. So please follow along. Okay, try to do it on your own. Okay, so I've written here, welcome to the Pig Latin translator. Okay, so I want to say just Pig Latin instead, so I'm going to get rid of that. Pig Latin. Uh-oh, it froze already. Oh, okay, wait. Good. Okay. Next, we need to ask input from the user. Okay. So when you're doing web applications, you're almost always never going to use something like this, but the principle is the same. You're going to store what the user has provided you into a variable, okay, and you're going to act on that. Okay. This one just happens to get information from the console. That means your local computer. Okay. So I call a function raw input and say something like, what's your name? So now it's going to ask me for my name, okay? And then I'm done, okay? Okay, now we actually have to check whether the user typed something or not, okay? So I have an empty string here that was the original thing. If length of the empty string is greater than 0, that means, well, something was provided, right? Otherwise, I'm going to have a block that says this string must have been empty, right? We actually have to check whether they wrote anything. So we're going to write an if statement that verifies the string has characters, okay? So we're going to do that, okay? So we're going to add an if statement, okay? And I'm going to check the length of something. It happens to be this thing over here, the original. So I'm going to do that, original, okay? It's greater than 0, okay? Am I done? I need a colon, right? Okay. So when I do that, I have a block. Okay. Then if it has something inside of it, print the user's word. I know how to do that. Print original. Okay. Otherwise, that means I need an else block. Print empty. Okay. So I'm done with this block. It's indented already because it expects another statement. So I'm just going to backspace. Then I'm starting another block. I'm going to write else, colon, right? That's going to indent because it's an else statement. It expects a block. Print empty. Print empty. Okay? Okay. So that looks like it's fine. I can outdent, save it, and then try it. My name is nothing. Empty. That didn't work. Let's try it again. How do I run it again? Okay, I'm going to put in someone else's name. Bob. Okay. Just for fun, we can run it again. Justin Bieber. Okay. Our favorite celebrity from yesterday. Okay. All right. Now we're going to check some more. Now we know we have a non-empty string. Okay. All of that code that you just saw in the original is to make sure we validate our input, meaning that whatever code that we get, we have to check whether it's in the right format. It's going to be really important later on. Okay. So we now have a non-empty string. Let's be even more thorough. In the first line, we create a string with letters and numbers. The second line then runs through the function isAlpha, which returns false since the string contains non-letter characters. Okay, let's make sure the word the user enters only contains alphabetical characters. You can use isAlpha to check for this. Okay, so how do we do that? Okay, well, we have an original here. Okay, so I'm going to add another condition to my if statement, but I have to do it up here. And, okay, original, is alpha. Okay? Okay? So if I entered something else, right, then this condition would fail because it doesn't meet this part of the criteria, right? And then I'm going to fall through and go to the else statement and execute that. Okay, wait, I skipped one there. What happened? Okay, as it says here, you just have to test your code multiple times, okay? And then we'll move on to Pig Latin part 2. Okay, now we actually have to do the Pig Latin exercise, okay? So up until now, when we did the first part, we were just doing input validation, okay? I talked to you about agile, about test-driven development, right? So all of those things, I hope they will come back to you and remind yourself that you actually always have to do this, okay? If you don't check your user's input, sometimes your program will behave unexpectedly. There have been a lot of cases where professional programmers did the wrong thing, okay, and caused very horrendous crashes because they didn't check the input carefully. Okay, now with that all out of the way, let's do the Pig Latin part, okay? So what we're going to do is move the first letter of the word to the end and append the suffix ay, right? So something like this. P goes down to the back and then ay to the end. Okay, let's create a variable to hold our translation suffix. Here it is, pyg equals ay. Okay, I'm going to submit that. Okay. Then we're going to make the word into lowercase. Okay. So I have a function, a string function called dot lower. It works on any string. Okay. And again, as we said before, strings do not change. They're immutable. So I have to assign a new variable to capture the return value of that. Okay. So we're going to assign it back to itself. Okay. And then we also need to grab the first letter of the word. Okay. So we can do that by using something like this. First letter equals the string in square bracket 0, right? 0 is the first element of any list or any sequence. A string has its first letter as the 0th element, right? So inside our else statement, we're going to create a new variable called word, okay, that holds the lowercase convention of original. Let's do that. Okay, so I'm going to go here. Word equals original dot lower. Okay, great. Then I'm going to create another new variable, first, that holds word 0, the first letter of word. Okay, first equals word 0. Okay. Okay, so I printed the original here, that's why it shows that. Otherwise, if I printed Word, it would show the lowercase version. Okay, now we have to move it back. We're going to move the first letter onto the back. Okay, so on a new line, after we created the first variable, okay, we're going to create a new variable called new word. Okay, and set it to the concatenation of word first and our suffix, right? We're almost there. Okay, so I'm just going to print it out so we can see what it looks like. Okay. Okay, so you can see how it's working. It lowercase the word. Here's the word, right? And then I created a new word from that, which is the word plus the first letter and plus that thing there, right? Okay, we haven't gotten rid of the first letter, so we have to do something with that, right? So we can use slicing to do that, okay? So we can create a variable to do the slicing, okay? Set new word equal to the slice from the first index all the way to the end of the new word. Use something like this to do it, okay? So I'm going to print, instead of new word, I'm going to print the slice, right? Length, new word, okay? Okay? Okay, so I didn't follow the instructions, admin. You have to set it equal to new word. Okay, so I have to go fix that, right? So actually I'm gonna set this and then print new word. Okay. So now hopefully you get an idea of how all of these different things play together. That completes your crash course into Python. There's quite a lot more to learn about Python, but these are the basics that will get you started. All right. Now I just want to mention a couple things about Python again, if you didn't hear earlier. Okay, Python is a really simple language to learn. It's used in a lot of schools now, even at the secondary or even primary level. It's very clean. You don't have to worry about a lot of problems that you usually have to worry about. And importantly, for SOC, it's used in a lot of upper level modules. And there are lots and lots of libraries, web-related, non-web related, even if you want to deal with like machine learning and big data, those types of things, there are a lot of libraries for that. So this is why, in many ways, Python is right now the language to learn, even compared to Ruby, even compared to Java, okay? A lot of things are happening in Python. Now, for this class, you're going to hear from Wee-Sun next about Google App Engine, okay? Now, Google App Engine, we recommend for beginners because it's very easy to deploy, okay? If you want to do something slightly more advanced, you don't have to switch to Ruby. You don't have to switch to Node.js or something like that if you want to. You can still stick with Python. There are good web frameworks that other people in our advisor staff and we can recommend for you to learn another web framework that's based on Python if you choose not to stick with Google App Engine. Okay, anything is fine. Okay, so if you have any questions, let us know. Do this. Put up your screenshots. I can see one person has put up their picture. Keep on doing that. Okay, we want to get you all the way through the Python exercise. So as you do the exercises that are marked in Code Academy, put them up. I will be on Stack Orbital Flow while Wee-Sun is teaching. I'll give you a couple other exercises that you can try to do when you have time. Okay. Thank you very much. We're going to break for about 5 minutes. Yeah, 5 minutes, and then Wee-Sun will start.
Let me put up the
Okay.
let me put up the installation instructions first before you go off, so those who have not installed can start installing during the break. Okay.
I'm not very sure, like, how is Python related to, like, for us developing web apps?